Part 1. Knowing versus Seeing. Today, human beings know too much. With just a small device in our hands, we can access the total knowledge of mankind. We know how to draw with AI, how to build digital worlds, how distant galaxies move across the universe. Yet the more we know, the less we see. Knowing is when you read about water. Seeing is when you dissolve into the ocean. Knowing happens in the mind. Seeing arises when the mind becomes still and reality reveals itself. We live in an age drowning in knowing, news, data, debates, artificial intelligence, endless information. But seeing, true insight, is as rare as a drop of dew untouched by the dust of the world. How many of us truly see ourselves, even as we scroll, argue, and chase recognition? The Buddha once said, "The fool claims knowledge as his own, the wise let go of knowing, and thus they see." In Buddhist teaching, prajna, true wisdom, is not information. It is the light of awareness itself, unmediated by thought. When the mind is empty, the light shines naturally. But when it is crowded with knowledge, that light is obscured. In an era where algorithms can explain almost everything, we forget that not everything is meant to be explained. Some things are meant to be seen deeply. A child looks at a flower without naming, without judging, and in that pure moment, it sees more truth than 1,000 philosophers combined. But as we grow, we lose that innocence of vision. We no longer see, we analyze, compare, and react. The mind becomes a mirror filled with fingerprints, a reflection of others' thoughts, not our own seeing. When the Buddha awakened, he did not say, "I have understood." He said, "I have seen." That seeing had no seer and no seen, only the light of knowing itself, pure, wordless, transparent. Today there are millions of videos teaching how to be happy, how to succeed, how to let go. Yet the more we consume, the more restless we become, because knowledge cannot replace experience. It numbs us like a sedative, letting us dream that we are awake. One who knows about love is different from one who sees love. The first repeats what others have said. The second, even in silence, radiates warmth, because through them, seeing is alive. As the Dhammapada says, though one may recite 1,000 verses of words, it brings no benefit if one does not live by them. But even one verse, if truly practiced, reveals the truth. True seeing cannot be borrowed. It arises in stillness, when the mind stops chasing knowledge, when there is no longer any effort to become more intelligent. And in that moment of surrender, wisdom begins. If knowing is light borrowed from another lamp, then seeing is the flame kindled within. A flame that does not blaze, but warms, endures, and illuminates the darkness of ignorance. Part 2. Borrowed Wisdom. In the beginning, every mind borrows light. We are born into a world already full of words. Words about love, about God, about awakening. From childhood, we are taught what is right, what is wrong, what to believe, and what to reject. Our wisdom is secondhand, stitched together from parents, teachers, influencers, books, and the glowing screens that tell us who we should be. But borrowed light never warms. It only reflects, like the moon reflecting the sun. And reflection, no matter how bright, can never replace the original flame. In Buddhism, this is the first veil of ignorance, taking knowledge for truth. The Buddha once said, "Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. When you find it in your own experience, only then call it truth." Yet the modern world rewards imitation. People quote sacred texts without silence in their hearts, speak of mindfulness without ever sitting still, and build digital avatars of peace while living in quiet chaos. The internet has turned knowledge into noise, an endless echo chamber where borrowed wisdom wears the mask of insight. A man can talk all day about compassion, but if his words do not soften his actions, he has not seen compassion. He only knows its definition. A woman can quote the Heart Sutra, but if she still fears losing what is not hers, she has not tasted emptiness. She only remembers the words, Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. This is the tragedy of borrowed wisdom. It feeds the ego more than it feeds the soul. The mind collects ideas as a merchant collects goods, boasting, comparing, defending, while the heart remains untouched. Today, information is currency. We count followers instead of breaths, measure understanding by engagement rates, and mistake recognition for realization. But wisdom does not come from being seen, it comes from seeing. The man at this stage believes he understands because he can explain. But explanation is the language of the surface. Understanding without transformation is still ignorance, only more articulate. As long as our knowledge depends on someone else's experience, we are like students memorizing the map but never walking the road. Imagine reading everything about fire, its heat, its chemistry, its dance, and believing you know fire. But when the flame finally touches your skin, you realize knowledge is ash and experience is the burn. Borrowed wisdom gives us comfort because it lets us appear intelligent without facing ourselves. It is safe, respectable, admired. But safety is the enemy of awakening. Truth cannot be received, it must be realized. And realization requires vulnerability, the courage to say, I do not know. In the ancient texts it is said, even the finest teaching is like a raft, useful for crossing the river, but a burden if carried on the shore. The danger is not in reading or learning, but in clinging. When knowledge becomes identity, it imprisons the seeker. He begins to protect his borrowed light as if it were his own, arguing, defending, quoting, forgetting that truth needs no defense. To move beyond borrowed wisdom is to step into uncertainty, to stop repeating and start observing, to stop collecting and start listening, not to the world, but to the silence behind it. That silence is the true beginning of wisdom. When you no longer echo others, you begin to hear the whisper of your own seeing. Part 3, the second layer, reflective wisdom. When the flame of borrowed wisdom begins to fade, another kind of light quietly arises, the light of reflective wisdom, where one no longer rushes to believe what has been taught, but begins to question one's own beliefs. This is not rebellion against the world, but an awakening within, a gentle quiet of doubt that shakes the very ground of the self. In today's noisy world of information and collective certainty, reflection is an act of courage. When everyone insists they know, the one who pauses and asks, "What do I really know?" is already beginning to see. We live in an age that offers instant answers to everything. AI can write us a meditation script. YouTube can teach mindfulness in 5 minutes, and everyone calls themselves spiritually awakened. But understanding is not seeing, and repeating is not living. Reflective wisdom begins when a person stops, when they notice the gap between what they say and how they live, when they realize that many of their truths are nothing more than inheritances of fear and habit. The Buddha said, "Do not believe in anything simply because I have said it. Examine it yourself, and when you find it true in your own experience, then follow it." Even after more than 2,000 years, these words remain a warning to our modern world, a world overflowing with teachings, yet starving for realization. The person at this stage often faces deep inner conflict. The old can no longer be trusted, and the new has not yet revealed itself. The mind becomes a trembling bridge suspended between ignorance and awakening. This is a painful but sacred stage, for no one can grow into light without first seeing the darkness within. Look around. Look around. We see people proud of understanding the Dharma, yet when insulted they rage. We see those who speak of impermanence, yet tremble at the sight of aging and death. They are not wrong. They are simply at the stage where knowing has not yet ripened into seeing. The one in reflection begins to turn the mirror inward, realizing that we often believe not because something is true, but because it feels safe. We speak of compassion, yet are driven by fear of abandonment. We speak of letting go, yet still crave recognition. Reflective wisdom is like the first wind of a new season. It cannot yet sweep away all ignorance, but it makes it impossible to keep pretending to sleep. From this moment on, every thought, reaction, and emotion becomes a mirror reflecting the self. And gradually, through that reflection, the ego begins to crack. Certainty fades. Pride dissolves. The need to be right weakens. That crack, that first fracture in the shell of I, is the first sound of awakening. The Buddha compared it beautifully, like one who peels a bamboo layer by layer until only the clear core remains. Reflection is such peeling, not about adding more, but about shedding, not about learning another philosophy, but about seeing where we are not yet true. Reflective wisdom does not bring peace. It brings a necessary restlessness, because only in restlessness do we stop clinging. It gives no answers, but it awakens in us a sacred honesty, and that honesty is the first seed of freedom. At this stage, one begins to realize not knowing is often truer than knowing. Confusion can sometimes be closer to enlightenment than certainty, and from that space of not knowing, wisdom begins to sprout from within. Part 4, the third layer, embodied wisdom. After the storms of reflection, when the shell of ego begins to crack, a new stillness arises, the stillness of embodied wisdom. It no longer comes from books, words, or teachers. It blossoms from life itself, tasted through pain, loss, love, and surrender. If the first two layers were about grasping or questioning, this one is about becoming. Understanding and living are no longer two separate movements. Every joy, every heartbreak, every mistake becomes part of one great teaching. A person in this layer no longer talks about awareness. They are awareness. They walk differently, breathe differently, listen differently. Their silence carries more truth than most speeches ever could. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "Better than 1,000 battles won is the one who conquers himself." The one who has reached embodied wisdom no longer seeks outer victories. They quietly turn inward, facing and overcoming the hidden enemies within, habits, fears, pride, and the hunger for recognition. There is no more need to prove anything. No more urge to be right, no more effort to make others understand, for their very presence becomes the teaching. In today's world, where social media turns understanding into self-promotion, the person of embodied wisdom moves in the opposite direction. They do not display intelligence, because they know, the more you show, the less you glow. A monk sitting silently in a forest may say nothing at all, yet his stillness makes others pause. That is the essence of embodied wisdom, truth that breathes, not speaks. Such a person can sit in the chaos of the marketplace and remain unmoved. They can hear criticism without feeling hurt, praise without feeling inflated. For their life is no longer guided by reaction, but by awareness. In the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha taught, "Let your mind arise without attaching to anything." That is the heart of embodied wisdom. One acts fully but does not cling. One gives completely but does not own the result. Success and failure are just passing winds across the garden of the heart. They come and go, yet the flower still blooms. Knowledge at this stage no longer lives on the tongue. It lives in the eyes, in the breath, in the pause between words. Such a person might remain silent through an entire conversation, but when they finally speak, the room falls quiet. Because their words have passed through fire, tempered by suffering, softened by loss, and purified by living. Embodied wisdom does not need to convince. It shines through the weight of authenticity, like the fragrance of a real flower, needing no advertisement, just existing, and the scent spreads on its own. Those who live from embodied wisdom can see truth behind illusion, without analysis, without debate. They can tell when someone speaks from memory or from realization. Their discernment does not come from intellect, but from a quiet intuition born in stillness. They have fallen, lost, broken, and through those fractures, they touched what can never be lost. In this modern age, we are told to be strong, be successful. But one with embodied wisdom knows, you don't need to be strong, only true. You don't need to stand out, only be present. For truth does not sit atop a mountain, it breathes quietly in every ordinary step. Part 5, the fourth layer, selfless wisdom. When wisdom has become breath, when words and actions are one, a new threshold appears, the threshold of selfless wisdom. This is no longer the wisdom of a knower, but a seeing in which no one is seeing. There is no longer a me at the center of the universe, no longer a self that is enlightened. There is only reality revealing itself. At this layer, all boundaries dissolve. Right and wrong lose their conflict. Such a person no longer argues to win, no longer defends beliefs, because they have seen that belief itself is born of fear. In the Bahia Sutta, the Buddha said, "In what is seen there is only the seen, in what is heard only the heard." One who has reached selfless wisdom no longer interprets the world through the self. They hear without adding meaning, see without labeling, allowing all things to simply be what they are. In our modern world, where everyone seeks recognition, such a person quietly disappears from the stage of I. They no longer live to prove, nor speak to be admired. They are like a still lake, not trying to reflect, yet everything appears clearly upon its surface. It is precisely this absence of effort that gives rise to the deepest seeing. Because there is no one left to interpret, things are seen exactly as they are, no more, no less. A person in selfless wisdom may live an ordinary life, working, laughing, conversing, yet inside there is a silence untouched by the world. Where others react, they observe. Where others analyze, they listen. Where others cling to logic, they simply see the dance of causes and conditions. Not because they strive for spiritual insight, but because their mind has become clear as the sky itself. A Zen master once said, "When I speak, that is wind. When I am silent, that is cloud. When I am still and seeing, that is sky." Selfless wisdom is like that, vast, still, and without borders. There is no longer anyone to elevate or diminish, no one to win or lose, nothing to attain, because everything is already complete within its own nature. Those who live from this place often make others feel light, simply by being present. They do not preach, they do not advise, for their unconditional presence is itself the greatest teaching. They no longer choose good over bad because they see both as the two sides of one coin. Good and evil, light and dark, success and failure, are all movements of the same living consciousness. In the age of technology, where artificial intelligence grows ever more human, those with selfless wisdom become simple as nature. They do not seek to stand above, but to flow in harmony. They do not try to display wisdom, but quietly recognize wisdom breathing through all things. This seeing is no longer a possession. It is not my wisdom, but the wisdom of life itself, flowing through every form that arises and fades. They see the world like a child seeing a rainbow for the first time, without question, without grasping, only wonder. And in that moment, the world ceases to be something to understand and becomes the sacredness of life itself. Part 6, the fifth layer, wordless wisdom. When all striving ceases, when the longing to be enlightened dissolves, what remains is the pure stillness of knowing. This is wordless wisdom, where there is no one left to understand and nothing left to be understood. At this stage, language can no longer touch reality. All concepts, enlightenment, truth, path, meditation, liberation, become echoes of the past. For anything that can be spoken is already one step away from what is. In the Lankavatara Sutra, the Buddha said, "Truth is not in words, yet it is not outside of words either." Those who have reached wordless wisdom do not reject language. They simply see through it. They may speak, yet in their speech, no speaker remains. They may be silent, yet their silence speaks louder than 1,000 sermons. In the modern world, where everyone rushes to express themselves, wordless wisdom appears as a rare silence. Not the silence of suppression, but the silence that comes when there is nothing left to say. For when reality is seen clearly, every answer becomes unnecessary. There is no longer a self to seek, no path to reach, no truth to grasp. There is only life itself, whole, unbroken, and complete. A person in this state makes no distinction between meditation and life. Eating is meditation. Washing dishes is meditation. Smiling at a stranger is meditation. They no longer practice, for what was to be attained was never missing. In the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha said, "There is no dharma to attain and no one to attain it." Wordless wisdom is precisely that return, the return to pure seeing without a seer, to knowing without a knower, to the luminous emptiness that is utterly free. Such a person still lives among people, working, loving, laughing, conversing, but within, there is no longer a doer. They no longer ask, "Am I doing this right?" or "What will others think of me?" because the one who could ask such questions has dissolved into the flow of existence. With no center to control, their actions become pure, spontaneous, and effortless. They do not try to be good, yet they cannot be untrue. They do not try to understand, yet everything is clear. A person living in wordless wisdom appears ordinary. No halo, no sign of sainthood. They might be a man brewing tea, a woman sweeping the temple courtyard, or a father quietly watching his child sleep. But if you stay near them long enough, you will sense a soft stillness surrounding them, like the wind, invisible yet undeniably present. In the Lotus Sutra, it is written, "Truth is not far away. It lives in every breath of the awakened one." One who has reached wordless wisdom no longer searches for truth because they have become truth itself. There is no longer one who sees, only seeing itself. No longer one who knows, only knowing, limitless, ownerless, silent. If one must use an image, wordless wisdom is like the light of the sun. It does not choose where to shine, nor need recognition for shining. It simply is, and its very being is the light. Here, wisdom is not for display, not for argument, not to convince anyone. It simply makes one live more simply, more truthfully, with fewer explanations, and with deeper presence. If after all these layers you can sit quietly, without seeking, without waiting, and simply listen to the sound of life breathing within you, then perhaps true wisdom has already begun to touch you, not through ideas, not through philosophy, but through the unconditional presence of this very moment. And here there are no more layers, no more path, no more destination, only the endless stream of awareness, smiling quietly within you.